I live inside my own world of make-believe.
Welcome fellow Fusionaires, Carrot King here, and today I'm bringing you the history of the Duel Links ban list part 2. This ban list is very interesting, because a lot of the fan base felt like Konami decided to hit a lot of the free-to-play decks. They decided to limit to one Vision Hero Vion. Basically, heroes, even with Celestial already limited to 2, were too consistent, unable to summon out a Destiny Hero Dangerous turn 1 for protection, or summon a Vision Hero Trinity for OTKing your opponent. They also decided to hit Amazonas, which was well known as the most free-to-play deck at the time. They hit Amazonas Onslaught to 1, and they hit Amazonas Princess to limit 2. This was a really big hit because this limited the consistency of the whole deck strategy by half. Because Onslaught was the main core card and Princess would search it, you only had 3 pieces of your deck instead of the original 6. And the other well-known free-to-play deck they hit was For Hire. They limited Wiz Sage For Hire to 2, which Dampa was already at 2, making it where you had to choose 1 and 1. But they had some other cards that affected the deck as well. For Hires were very reliant on having enemy controller before Dampa got hit, and so basically you had no chance to play enemy controller in the deck. The next thing they hit was Hatrunade. Hatrunade was a very powerful hit to For Hire, because For Hire was a very OTK based strategy, as well as Destiny Heroes, taking Hatrunade away from both strategies. And then the most reliable back row for all free-to-play decks, Treacherous Trap Hole, was limited to 2. This takes away where you cannot run it with Hatrunade, you could not run it with Destiny Heroes, you could not run it with your For Hires or Amazonas, making it very hard to play this SR easy to obtain card in some of the easier to obtain strategies. And next is skills. The first skill that was changed was Cyber Style. Cyber Style was very abused because there was no restriction on the Proto Cyber Dragons you summoned off its effect. Basically, for each 1,000 life points you lost, you would get a Proto Cyber Dragon on your field, up to 3, that you could use for tribute summons. This was easily abused in UAs, or a deck that would summon something like Obelisk, and they wanted to prevent it from being misused or used outside of Cyber Dragons. So they changed the skill where your Proto Cyber Dragons could only be used for fusion material. And next, they changed the skill Life Cost 0. Before, it was able to use the skill as many times as possible on a turn and your opponent's turn, making it where cards like Cyberstein could summon as many fusions as possible during the turn. Summoning things like Gatling Dragon would destroy the whole field, Ojama King would lock it up, making it very abusive and hard to play around. At this point in the game, there was enough cards in the actual database where the skill was very consistent and easy to pull off. They changed the skill where Life Cost 0 could only be used once for 1 payment. And on the next ban list, they decided to hit Spellbook of Fate to limit 2. Spellbooks were a very oppressive deck, using Spellbook of Fate to banish things non-targeting, as well as Treacherous Trap Hole to remove board state. Spellbooks also had Silent Magician, which was a big floating monster that can negate spells, that just required a Spellbook of Prophecy to tribute. This also made it where they could not run Treacherous Trap Hole, making it where the Spellbook strategy was worse, but still very playable. They then semi-limited the card Silent Sword Slash. The Silent Swordsman OTK had not been used as often from when they hit the dual standby skill, but was still seeing some success and making it hard to play competitive decks. So they decided to hit Silent Sword Slash to take away cards like Hatrunade and affect the OTK deck. And last for cards, they limited the card Amazonas Baby Tiger, with Amazonas Onslaught being at 1 and Amazonas Princess being at limit 2. There was no reason to have Baby Tiger taken away from the strategy. And next, they changed the skill Kaiba Corp Bling. They changed it where you had to lose 1,000 life points, drawing add a random Glossy or Prismatic from your deck to your hand, making a pay-to-win strategy a Cosmic Cyclone away. And on the next ban list, because Kawaki Miru had been so dominant up to this point, they limited Kawaki Miru Maximus to 1 to curb its power, and they semi-limited Iron Core of the Kawaki Miru to take away the limit 2s from Kawaki Mirus. And next, they limited Spellbook of Eternity, making it where if you played Spellbooks, you could not resolve more than 3 Spellbook of Fates. And the last card they limited was Samurai Skull to semi-limit. Samurai Skull was very dominant in the vampire strategy, and this hit would take enemy controller away from a very dominant deck. In this ban list, they hit 2 skills. For a trick up the sleeve, they changed it where you could not special summon an effect monster your first turn when using this skill. They do this so Blue Eyes can't run Cosmo Brain and basically have a consistent opening Cosmo Brain every game. And the second skill they changed was Last Gamble. If it was past the 5th turn, you had the option to discard 2 cards, pay all of your life points except for 100, roll a die, and draw cards equal to what the die rolled. They changed the skill to where it didn't work till the 7th turn, and you would not discard, you would instead shuffle 2 cards back into your deck, making it where it's a lot less consistent and doesn't set up your graveyard like the skill before. They made this change because Buster Blader would use the skill abusively, stalling with cards like Wing Karibo until they draw their combo pieces, changing your opponent's monsters into dragons, and locking them out of the duel. And on the next ban list, they only hit 1 card. They limited to 2, Shien's Dojo. This was very surprising because it was done very recently after 6 Samurai was released, but it was done to take away the semi-limit toolbox away from 6 Samurai. And on the next ban list, they didn't hit any cards. They only changed skills. The first skill they changed was Kaiba Court Bling, because previously on the KC Cup before, Kawaki Mirus used it to search for Diamond Core of the Kawaki Miru by paying lots of money to search for glossy and prismatic Diamond Cores. They changed the skill from where it cost 1,000 to lose to be able to search for a prismatic or glossy to where you need to lose 1,800 life points, making it closer to Destiny Draw but still usable. And the next skill they changed was Harpy's Hunting Ground. They reverted the original changes, having it where instead of starting on the top of your deck, it was then starting on your field again, making the skill a lot better and helping Harpies out a lot. They then changed the skills Draw Sense High Level, Draw Sense Low Level, and Draw Sense Spell or Trap. They made it where you only had to lose 1,000 life points in order to have your next draw for High Level be level 5 or higher, for Low Level be 4 or lower, and Spell or Trap draw a Spell or Trap. The next ban list had limited to 1 Gem Knight Lapis Lazuli, because basically you would run a Restart and be able to open your hand with Grass is Greener very consistently, and be able to FTK your opponent using cards like Block Dragon and the burn effects of Lapis Lazuli plus Gem Knight Master Diamond. And then they decided to limit Diamond Core of Kawaki Miru to limit 2, and remove Iron Core of Kawaki Miru to unlimited. Because even though Kawaki's only had Maximus to limit 1, and were able to play their full power, they were able to tech in Neos Fusion and Brave Neos to supplement for it. And then to hit the burn decks, they took Amazoness Swordwoman and they put it limited to 2. This, in its own, killed Amazoness. Because Amazoness already had Onslaught to 1 and Princess to 2. And Princess was the most important piece of the archetype, making it where they couldn't run Swordwoman and pressure for wins. And then they changed 2 big skills. The first skill, Mass Tribute, was changed where you could not tribute the monster on your field that you summoned off of it until the end of your opponent's next turn, unless it was for Mass Beast Descardius. This skill was changed because it was used unintentionally. It was being used by Subterror, where with Subterror Nemesis Warrior, they would tribute the monster it summoned during your opponent's draw phase, setting up for a perfect turn where your opponent had a hard time handling the board. And the other skill they changed was Parasite Infestation. They changed it where you had to have at least 4 insects with different names in your deck for the skill to activate. This was a big hit because now you have to play an insect burn deck instead of just a burn deck with the skill. The next ban list only hit the card Legendary 6 Samurai Anishi. This had it where you could only run 1 Anishi and 1 Dojo, really reducing the power of the 6 Samurai deck. And that's the history of the Duel Links ban list part 2. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I really do enjoy making these videos. Even though this one doesn't get many views, it's still very enjoying to make. I appreciate you guys who keep with me, keep watching my videos. You mean the world to me. Keep fusioning. Let's go Slash.